giving a brief overview of the United States dollar and the historic road which it took to becoming the most internationally traded currency. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Our path starts way back in the 1860s, which is a period when America had the gold standard implemented on the supply of US dollars. More specifically, the amount of United States dollars which were permitted to be in circulation had to be equivalent to the amount of gold that the United States had at the given time. The gold standard started off as a successful way to keep the value of the dollar stable. In short, it was good, until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it created chaos. The first major example of this is during World War I, when the US had expended an enormous amount on military operations. As a result, foreign owners of United States dollars were exchanging their American dollars for other currencies because they did not believe the USD was stable anymore. Inflation occurred at a rapid rate until the president unpegged the dollar from gold, and instead pegged it with pounds sterling. Shortly after World War I, during the Roaring Twenties, the gold standard was brought back for a short period between 1924 and 1927. At that point, the United States economy had been booming for years and years. It finally came to a halt, and pretty quickly, people could no longer afford to pay their expenses. Because the gold standard was in effect at the time, the Federal Reserve was not able to print any money until the gold standard was abandoned once again. The consequences of the mistakes made during that time is now known as the Great Depression. Our next stop is in New Hampshire, 1944. The Bretton Woods Conference was held in New Hampshire, 1944, and there, the countries which attended the meeting decided on fixed exchange rate for currencies, as well as for gold. At the time, it was established that 1/35 of an ounce of gold would be equivalent to $1 US. The Bretton Woods Conference was much needed at the time. It occurred during the conclusion of the Second World War, and established a great stability to the United States dollar. For a few decades, the Bretton Woods system worked, until another war broke out. This time it was the war in Vietnam, and the president was Lyndon B. Johnson. LBJ was faced with an ultimate predicament while in office because inflation and unemployment were skyrocketing. Fixing both seemed impossible because fixing one would further worsen the other. The misery index continued to increase and, on top of that, there was a significant war taking place in Vietnam. People began to see that the U.S. budget deficit was out of control and the stability of the U.S. dollar was threatened. Richard Nixon was the president to succeed LBJ beginning his term in 1969. The misery index continued to worsen and something out of the ordinary had to occur to end this vicious cycle. On August 15, 1971, the U.S. violated the Bretton Woods Agreement by halting the redemption of gold for U.S. dollars. The world was in shock, but in the long run, the misery index decreased and the dollar became stable again. The remaining result was that the value of gold shot up. Since 1971, the gold standard has been abandoned by the U.S. and gold remains extremely valuable, as well as an attractive investment. In fact, gold has actually appreciated at an annualized rate of 7.8%. That's all for today, Rams. See you next week.